In the quiet village of Umuaka, everyone knew Mama Ngozi, the bread seller. But before she became the famous bread seller, she was just Ngozi, a lonely woman with no children. Ngozi had married young. Her husband, Okeke, was a kind man, a farmer who worked hard on their little piece of land. For years, they prayed for children, but none came. Every market day, Ngozi would hear the whispers of other women. Poor Ngozi, they would say, what is a woman without a child? She tried to ignore them, but their words hurt. Okeke comforted her, saying, don't listen to them. We have each other, and that is enough. But it wasn't enough for Ngozi. She wanted more. She wanted to be important in the village, to be remembered for something. One day, she visited an old woman who lived deep in the forest. The villagers called her Nneka the Wise, but others whispered she was a witch. Ngozi didn't care, she needed help. Nneka, Ngozi said, kneeling before the old woman, I want to be great. I want the villagers to love me. Nneka stared at her with eyes that seemed to see through her soul. Greatness comes with a price, she said. I will pay anything, Ngozi replied eagerly. The old woman smiled, revealing teeth as dark as the night. Go home and bake bread. Pour your heart into it. Soon, the village will know your name. But remember, when the time comes, you must give back what you take. Ngozi didn't fully understand, but she nodded. When she returned home, she told her husband, I want to start a bread business. Okeke laughed. Bread? Do you even know how to bake? I will learn, she said confidently, and she did. Day and night, she practiced, kneading dough, mixing ingredients, and experimenting with recipes. Her first loaves were hard and tasteless, but she didn't give up. She remembered Nneka's words and poured her heart into every loaf. Soon, the bread began to change. It became soft, golden, and irresistible. The smell alone made people's mouths water. She started selling it in the village square, carrying a tray on her head and calling out, fresh bread, sweet bread, hot from the oven. The villagers couldn't get enough. Mama Ngozi, your bread is magic, they said. How do you make it so good? She would smile and reply, it's the love I put into it. Her business grew quickly. She became the talk of the village, and the people came from neighboring towns just to buy her bread. Her husband was proud. Ngozi, you've brought honor to our family, he said. But something wasn't right. As her bread became more popular, children in the village began disappearing. First, it was Chinwe, then Obina, and later my cousin Chinedu. I remember the day Chinedu vanished. He was 8 years old, playful and full of energy. That afternoon, I was sitting under a tree near the square, watching him play. Mama Ngozi arrived with her tray of bread, her voice as cheerful as ever. Fresh bread, sweet bread, she called that. Chinedu ran up to her. Mama Ngozi, can I have one? He asked, smiling. She bent down to his level, her eyes warm and kind. Of course, my dear, she said. But first, come, help me with something behind the stores. Okay, Chinedu said, following her. I watched as they walked towards the back of the square. Something about the way she held his hand made my stomach churn. I decided to follow them, staying out of sight. When they reached a quiet corner, Mama Ngozi knelt in front of Chinedu. You are such a good boy, she said, stroking his head. Thank you, Mama Ngozi, he said, grinning. Then it happened. She placed her palm flat on his head, and in an instant, he was gone. I gasped, covering my mouth to stop myself from screaming. She stood up, dusted her hands, and walked back to the square as if nothing had happened. I stayed frozen in that spot for what felt like hours. When I finally returned home, I told my parents what I saw. Chinedu didn't just disappear, I shouted. Mama Ngozi made him disappear. My father frowned. That's enough, Emeka. Don't say such things, but I saw it. I cried. My mother shook her head. Ngozi has brought nothing but good to this village. Don't spread lies. I couldn't believe them. How could they ignore me? I knew what I saw, and I knew I had to find the truth. That was the beginning of everything. The day I decided to uncover the terrible secret behind Mama Ngozi's bread. The next day, I asked my friend Ikenna to follow her with me. You don't believe me, but I need you to see it for yourself, I begged. Ikenna sighed, fine. But if nothing happens, you will owe me palm wine. That afternoon, we hid behind a tree in the square. Mama Ngozi was there selling her bread as usual. Then she spotted a girl named Amara playing with her doll. Amara, my dear, Mama Ngozi called her sweetly. Come and help me with this tray. I have something special for you. Amara hesitated. Mama said I shouldn't leave the square. Mama Ngozi laughed. I am not a stranger, am I? Don't you eat my bread every day? Amara smiled shyly and took a step forward. Ikenna grabbed my arm. You are right, he whispered. Wait, Amara said suddenly. What is the special thing? Mama Ngozi's eye flickered, but her smile didn't falter. A sweet roll, made just for you, but you have to help me carry this first. Before Amara could move, her older brother called out, Amara, come back here. Mama Ngozi's hand froze mid-air. Her smile slipped for a moment, replaced by a tight frown. She straightened, adjusted her tray, and walked away quickly. That night, Ikenna and I decided to follow her again. We stayed hidden as she left the square and walked down a dark, winding path. "Where is she going?" Ikenna whispered. "Quiet," I hissed. We followed her to an old hut on the edge of the forest. Through a crack in the wall, we saw her place a loaf of bread on the table. She began chanting, her voice low and airy. "Spirit of the fire, spirit of the grain, accept this gift. Let the bread be soft and sweet. Let the village hunger no more." "What is she doing?" Ikenna whispered. "I don't know," I replied, my heart pounding. Then we saw her pull out a small shoe from a sack. It was Chinedu's shoe. My stomach turned. Suddenly she spoke louder. "You will feed the village, little one. Your spirit will make them strong." Ikenna gasped and Mama Ngozi stopped. "Who is there?" she barked, her voice sharp. We ducked, holding our breath. After a long silence, she muttered something and continued her ritual. The next morning we went to the chief. "We have proof," Ikenna said. "She's been taking the children." The chief frowned. "Mama Ngozi, that's a serious accusation. Come with us," I said. "We'll show you." The chief gathered some men and they followed us to the square. We hid and watched as Mama Ngozi tried to lure another child. "Obinna, come here," she said, kneeling. "I have something for you." "Stop!" The chief's voice thundered. The men rushed out, surrounding her. "What is this?" Mama Ngozi cried, her face pale. "We know what you have been doing," the chief said. "I don't know what you are talking about," she said, clutching her tray. One of the men grabbed the tray and threw it to the ground. Bones spilled out and the villagers screamed. "You've been feeding us children," a woman shouted, tears streaming down her face. Mama Ngozi dropped to her knees, sobbing. "I had no choice. The spirit demanded it." The chief shook his head. "Take her away." The villagers never ate bread again. Every time I walk past the square, I hear their whispers and remember the children we lost. And Mama Ngozi, no one knows what happened to her. Some say she roams the forest waiting for her next victim. Thanks for watching my video. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, in order to get notified when we upload our subsequent videos. Thank you.